Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to the channel. It's Dave with Gen 3D Tech. Today we're taking a look at the Lenovo Legion M7 wireless gaming mouse. In this review, we're going to determine if this is a decent gaming mouse or just another piece of OEM e-waste. So without further ado, let's get into it. First off, I'd like to thank MechKeys for providing this sample for this review, but as always, my opinions are my own. And with that out of the way, let's get into this review. So, this is the Lenovo M7 wireless gaming mouse, and it sports a 3395 sensor. It has optical switches. I believe it uses Gen 2 Razer optical switches. I'm not 100% sure. As you can see, it's got quite a bit of RGB, so if you're into that, you might like that. But if you aren't into that kind of gaudy gamer look, you're probably not going to like this mouse at all. It does kind of have a meme mouse kind of look to it. But unlike most meme mice, this mouse actually has some decent specs, especially for the money. I believe this goes for $66 on MechKeys. I have seen a bit cheaper elsewhere, but your mileage might vary on that. First of all, this is a really large mouse. It's at least the size of the Dave, maybe a little bit bigger. It feels really big in the hand, so you can definitely palm this mouse. So it's also a bit heavy, so it comes in at, I believe, 78 grams. We'll measure it on my scale just to verify. But some of the cool things that this mouse has that other mice that are also heavy, like the G502, it has a infinity scroll wheel. So right now you can see it's got stepping. You push that button and it just free spins. So there are people that find that useful for certain games, and they do look for that feature in mice. And there's not a lot of mice that have this feature, especially in a mouse of this shape and size. Of course, there's also the DPI button right next to it. And then on the side, it has this third mouse button on the side. It's a sniper button is what it's typically called, but you can map it to whatever you want. So that is pretty cool, and it is a convenient spot. I did find it very easy to hit, and you don't accidentally hit it. Now, another feature this mouse has is Bluetooth. Almost every Chinese mouse seems to have Bluetooth, so you do have that option besides the 2.4 gigahertz. And then down here you do have a spot to store your dongle. One side note, this mouse comes with a dongle, but it doesn't come with a dongle adapter, so you have to put it straight into a port. So that is kind of a bummer they didn't give you one. It does come with a braided charging cable and USB-C. The PTFE feet are this kind of, I think it's like Teflon black skates. They're not the best, honestly. You typically see them on a lot of cheaper Chinese mice. A lot of them are starting to go away from this, which is a good thing, but I don't find that it feels terribly bad, but I think these wear down a little bit quicker than most mice. So keep that in mind. But there are a lot of dot skates out there that you could always replace these with if need be. The sensor is the 3395 sensor, which is the current top sensor other than what you can get from Razer, which is the 3950 sensor. And as you can see, shape-wise, it's a ergonomic mouse. It does slant this direction up in the front, bulges out here on the side. It's pretty high. And I'll bring out a couple other larger mice to compare it with. Like right here, this is the Darmio Shark M4, which is a symmetrical mouse, but it is a big mouse. It feels a little bit longer, but this is definitely much higher. And then you got the Wise Owl mouse that I just reviewed recently. That also feels very chunky in the hands. But the Lenovo does feel a little bit bigger still. And then, of course, you got the Death Adder V3, which I believe this does compare favorably with shape-wise. It is a little bit different. The Dave is a little bit higher on the left-hand side, and this is a little bit more even. But you can kind of see their height is very similar. Length is very similar. Shape is somewhat similar too. Similar in the front. Side buttons are definitely much smaller and thinner. Well, they are pretty long, but they're much thinner on the M7. The big difference is this is a $150 mouse, and this is a $66 or less mouse. And of course, the weight is the major difference because this is a much lighter mouse. So as you can see, the Dave is 64 grams on my scale, and the M7 is 78 grams, which is what the box says, so that's good. The Wise Owl mouse is at 70 grams, so a bit lighter. And of course, the Dharma Shark mouse is 58 grams based off the Air 58. Now, as far as coating goes, it is a pretty grippy mouse, I think. It does have this kind of textured sides, which are very grippy. And it has a nice textured feel to it. But I will say the plastic doesn't feel the most high quality. It does have kind of a bit of a cheap feeling to it, even though the structural integrity of the mouse is pretty good. It's pretty solid. It just feels kind of like a cheaper mouse. It also has that look of a cheaper gamer mouse. But like I said, the specs on it are really good for the price. Now, as far as the clicks go, it's actually very clicky. I think it feels pretty good, especially for an optical mouse. The scroll wheel is nice and tactical. And of course, with the Infinity, you get that very smooth feeling spinning scroll wheel. And that works really good if you like that feature. The side buttons feel pretty good. I mean, they're not the greatest thing ever, but they're definitely above average. I do wish they were a little bit bigger, though, like the Dave. Overall, the build quality is pretty good on this mouse. I'm just not a big fan of the actual shape of it and also the size of it. It's a bit too big for my 19 by 10 size hands, but if you are a big mouse lover, then this could definitely be an option for you if you can get past the gaudy nature of the gamery look. What I do think is pretty cool is this is from Lenovo, and if you got this bundled with one of their Legion gaming PCs, this wouldn't be an e-waste throwaway that you would normally get when you buy a new PC. Even though it kind of does have that look to it, but specs-wise and performance-wise, it's a pretty decent mouse. And I wouldn't be upset if I had gotten this with a computer that I purchased, because most of the time, they're just crap with whatever you get. Now, I don't know if this mouse is actually being marketed in the United States. I haven't seen it like on Amazon or anywhere else. I kind of got this feeling this is marketed just in China, but that's the whole purpose of me reviewing these mice that are being sold over in China, and then having the option to buy them on places like MechKeys, so that as someone in North America, we have a few more options and choices, which is always good. And I do know some people will like this mouse, you know. Maybe that's a younger person, or maybe you know a younger person who would like one of these mice. Personally, it doesn't really fit my aesthetic, but if that's your thing, I get it. And there has been a bunch of people who have been very interested in this review, so here's the review. I wanted to get this out for you guys. I had a lot of questions about things like the scroll wheel and the extra button on the side, and how it compares to the Dave. Now, Obviously, the Dave is a better mouse. It's lighter, has a better sensor, but again, it's like twice the price of this mouse, over twice the price of this mouse. So if you're on a budget and you're looking for a big ergonomic mouse, this could be the ticket. Again, though, it's kind of gaudy. You can turn off the RGB if you want, so that's an option. But I do have some other gaudy gaming mice that are coming my way that make this look tame. So I look forward to sharing that review with you. So with grip styles, like I said before, really this is a palm style mouse for me. You can claw it. It's just kind of big, but really it's too big to fingertip unless you just got giant paws, I suppose. In game for me, it performs very well. The sensor tracks well. I didn't notice any latency issues. It just performs like an above average gaming mouse using the 3395 sensor. It's definitely on par with things like Pulsar mice and Lamzu mice. So I wouldn't worry about it if you're worried about latency. I don't test these with meters or LiDARs or anything like that. I just go off of the feel, and I've been using mice since the 80s and gaming for a long time, so I can tell when there's some latency. So I feel pretty confident that you're really not going to notice it on this mouse. Now, it's definitely not on the level of a Razer Dave or Viper V2 or something like that, but it's definitely good enough that it's not going to hold you back. So let's move on to the sound test, and then we'll go over the software. Anyways, here's the software, battery life indicator here. You can see that you got the profile selector, and then over here you can check to see if there's software updates, which I'm all the way up to date currently. And then right here you got the button mapping, and right here you can adjust the side buttons, including the snipe button there. Here's the DPI stepping. You can adjust the lighting right here. Right here you can adjust scroll speed. 1000 hertz polling is the default, and 1 millimeter liftoff distance. And if you're wondering where the demounts time setting is, this is an optical mouse, so you're not going to have that setting. So kind of a interesting interface. It's different, much like this mouse. I wouldn't say it's the most user-friendly, but it's not terribly difficult. It's just different than most of the other mice that I see. Anyways, that's it, and let's get on with the rest of the review. So in conclusion, I do like this mouse. I do think it's a good value for the money, especially if you're looking for a large ergonomic mouse with a 3395 sensor, decent optical switches. It's just not one that I would recommend to all people. I think it's a very specific recommendation for people with large hands who are on a budget and you don't mind this style of gaudy gamerness. I do think if you got the money and you like a large mouse, you should probably definitely get a Dave, which is a much better mouse, but again, it comes at a cost. Shark M3 is actually a little bit cheaper, and it is a large size mouse. It's not as large, and it is a symmetrical mouse, but it's a little bit more of a better value. And then Wyazile mouse is $100, so again, it's more expensive. It does have a better MCU in it. I honestly do prefer the shape of the M7 a little bit better, and it has optical switches and the infinity scroll wheel and an extra button on the side, which is cool. But I do like the look of the Wise Owl mouse better. And I do think the build quality on the Wise Owl mouse is a tad bit better. That's actually quite a bit better. The coating though is definitely better on the M7. This is a very slick coating, and this is definitely a lot more gritty. It just feels a little bit cheaper, the plastic itself, but I don't have any concern of it breaking or anything with normal use. Just don't be throwing it against a wall or anything. So anyways, if you're interested in this mouse, I'll have a link in the description. And again, if you look around, you can find it elsewhere for a little bit cheaper, most likely. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative. If you did, please leave a like, and a sub would be very appreciated. And I'm going to have some more Chinese mice coming out real soon. I'll probably do this one next. The Meow Wow XJ03. Very interesting mouse. I like it a lot. And then of course, probably do the Dharma Shark M3 soon. And we got the in-game gear X2 Wii also we got to do. And then the Zenix GT Air Wireless. This Japanese Intercom mouse, which is a very interesting mouse. I still plan on doing a review on the Xtrify M8. And the Cool Master MM712. The Vaxi XE. This Knifter mouse, which has hot swaps in it. Somewhat interesting mouse. By the way, this mouse also has hot swaps in it. So that'll be very interesting. I have 3 mice with hot swaps. And I also have a bunch of other mice coming very soon. And some of those mice may get bumped up the review list. Oh, and then of course, I also got the new glorious Model O2. Which is, it's an okay mouse. Not really worth the money, I think, but we'll get into that in the review. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Later.